the war has shifted to the second period with Russian troops attacking in convoys. As you may recall, Ukrainian forces successfully repulsed Russian convoys in the past days. In addition, many Russian armored vehicles and 22 tanks were destroyed. The aim of the Russian army in this process is to organize a massive attack by gathering a large number of soldiers and military equipment in KK. Moscow wants to drive Ukrainian forces out of KK in one go. This is exactly why North Korean units are in KK. By keeping North Korean troops on strategic fronts, Moscow is trying to build an army composed largely of Russian forces. As this number has increased, there have been changes in both the shape and number of attacks by Russian units. But as I have said in previous videos, this strategy has not succeeded since the beginning of the war, and it is not likely to succeed from now on. You will understand why better later in the video. According to reports published today, Mikola Marines repelled Russian attacks in the KK region. The destruction of the Russian convoys that I mentioned in the first part was also carried out by the Molov Marines. The attack by the Russian parachute unit was successfully repulsed, and one armored vehicle and Russian infantry groups were targeted by drones. According to the published report, a bunker containing Russian soldiers and military equipment was destroyed in this way. Fighting in the same and nearby areas has been going on for about 10 days. Russian forces are again moving in convoys and going on the offensive. But remember the first days of the war. The Ukrainian army had huge shortages of troops, especially huge shortages of military equipment. They had almost no artillery systems, drones, rocket systems, or ammunition. During this period, Moscow said that Kiev would be controlled within 3 days. With this, the Russian army advanced directly to Kiev through Belarus and the Jabas line with incredibly fast progress. Kiev, with the right decision, decided to withdraw its soldiers and a small number of military equipment from non-critical regions and protect the capital, Kiev, the main region. A critical event took place here. While Ukraine's allied countries were sending aid to Kiev, unmanned aerial vehicles such as Bayraktar TB2 from Turkey were delivered to Kiev and started to be used. The Russian army had deployed in convoys around Kiev, and they wanted to control the region with a major offensive. The convoy grew longer and longer each day, with a convoy of tanks and armored vehicles about 60-70 km long. The reason for this was that the first attempt to control Kiev was thwarted by Ukrainian forces, which surprised Moscow. Later on, Moscow wanted to show its strength with this convoy and to advance with a very large force. But they realized too late that Soviet tactics would not work in the new era. The Kiev army inflicted great damage on the Russian convoy, especially with Turkish drones. Russian convoys deployed around Kiev were deployed on narrow and mountainous roads. The unmanned aerial vehicles attacked and first hit the armored vehicles at the beginning and end of the convoy, restricting the movements of the Russian convoy. Then, the fuel tankers in the convoy were destroyed. The Russian army had never suffered such heavy losses before, and the large convoy was withdrawn by Moscow. The drone's electromagnetic warfare system prevented the Russian air defense systems from protecting the convoy, but the Russian army still hasn't learned from the convoy. But the Russian army still hasn't learned from this. It is very dangerous to move convoys in such a asymmetric wharf. Also, the Ukrainian army now has a lot of drones and unmanned aerial vehicles. In the early days of the war, the Russian army had a lot of armored vehicles and tanks. Now it is much less. In the same way, Ukraine had huge shortcomings in the early days of the war, but now the Ukrainian army has a strong military inventory that is tailored to the ongoing war. I would say that there are still shortcomings, but it is impossible to compare with the first days of the war. As the Maiev Marines showed in their video, Armored vehicles and groups of soldiers and convoys can be targeted by drones in a very simple and cost-effective way. The repulse of the main strike force of the Russian forces and the organization of this attack by drones has led to the mobilization of Ukrainian forces. Ukrainian forces began advancing along the KK line towards the center line of Pgrep, and Ukrainian forces allegedly captured Olovka, Mariva, Malalia, Stara Serena, and Nova Serena, northwest of Suda. However, no official statement has been made, so it is not a definitive and verified report. There was also another statement from Russia. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that 46 Ukrainian drones were attacked on the night of December 7th, 8th. There was no statement from the Ukrainian army on the subject, but the Russian Defense Ministry claimed that all drones were shot down. I will update you again when an official statement is made, but this is what Russia usually says. I do not think that all of these drones were shot down because the success rate of drone attacks is very high. We can understand this success rate from the attacks on Russia's fuel system. It is stated that 33% of the fuel facilities that Russia supplies fuel to were directly attacked. This is clearly causing fuel disruptions, but the Russian Defense Ministry denies this attack. After every Ukrainian drone strike, you can judge for yourself whether these attacks are true or not. The second problem for Moscow is sanctions and breakdowns. These fuel plants are operating at a very high cost because of the sanctions. It is also known that many refineries have been shut down or stopped working due to export restrictions and high debts. As you may recall, Nori Refinery, one of the largest refineries in Russia, announced on November 20th that it had stopped working. On top of these problems, the attacks by Ukrainian drones completely prevent Moscow from solving the management. We have been saying the same things since the first day of the Ukraine-Russia war. Every day of the war is very costly for Russia and Ukraine. In addition to the cost, the losses are very high. We hope that this war will be resolved at the table in a short time. As we approach the end of another video, I would like to give you a short reminder and end this video. Our team works tirelessly for more than 12 hours every day to bring you the best news. If you would like to show your appreciation, please click on the Super Thank You button. Your donations allow us to expand our reach and improve the quality of our news. You can also support us by liking the video and leaving a comment. I wish you all a good day and see you soon. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has revealed many significant lessons that can inform both military strategies and broader global perspectives. One of the most important takeaways from the current situation is the power of adaptability in warfare. At the onset of the war, Ukraine faced significant shortages in troops, military equipment, and resources. However, through strategic decisions, innovative solutions, and the timely arrival of aid, Ukraine has been able to not only defend itself, but also launch successful counterattacks. The initial struggle for Ukraine has turned into a story of resilience, showing how a well-organized and determined force can thrive even in the face of overwhelming odds. The role of drones and unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, in modern warfare cannot be overstated. What was once seen as an auxiliary tool has now become a game changer. The success of the Ukrainian forces in repelling Russian convoys with drones highlights the evolving nature of military technology. These UAVs allow for low-cost, highly effective strikes that can cripple enemy formations without risking the lives of soldiers. This strategy has proven particularly effective against Russian convoys, where drones were able to target armored vehicles, fuel tankers, and even disrupt the logistics of the entire operation. The fact that these drone attacks have had such a high success rate demonstrates that military superiority is no longer solely about having more tanks or planes, but about using technology in a smarter, more efficient way. The Ukrainian military's increasing inventory of drones serves as an example of how technological innovation and resourcefulness can turn the tide of a war. While Russia, at the beginning of the conflict, had overwhelming numbers of tanks and armored vehicles, the Ukrainians have now leveled the playing field by employing advanced drones and other UAVs. This shift in the balance of power shows that traditional military strength, like large convoys and armored formations, can be vulnerable when faced with more agile and advanced technologies. It also points to the critical importance of adapting quickly to new technological developments. Moscow's failure to learn from its early mistakes, such as underestimating the potential of drone warfare, has led to heavy losses and a continued struggle in the conflict. Another significant lesson is the importance of maintaining a flexible and strategic mindset. In the face of logistical challenges and the constant threat of drone strikes, Russian forces have had to adjust their tactics, but these adjustments have often been too little, too late. The persistence of Ukrainian forces despite the odds underscores the significance of not just military strength, but the will to adapt and outmaneuver an opponent. Russia's inability to effectively deal with the Ukrainian drones and its ongoing logistical issues show that military power alone cannot guarantee success in modern warfare. On a personal note, this conflict serves as a sobering reminder of the human cost of war. While much of the focus is often on strategies, weapons, and tactics, it is crucial to remember that the consequences of these actions extend far beyond the battlefield. The loss of life, the destruction of homes, and the displacement of millions of people are the real tragedies of war. As we witness the persistence of Ukraine in fighting for its sovereignty, we are reminded that war, while it may seem distant or abstract to some, affects real people and has consequences that echo across generations. In conclusion, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia highlights the shifting dynamics of modern warfare, where technology and adaptability are as critical as manpower and resources. The use of drones and UAVs has fundamentally changed how wars are fought, and Russia's failure to adapt to these changes has proven to be a costly mistake. However, the broader lesson is one of resilience, adaptability, and the importance of using innovation to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges. This conflict also underscores the human cost of war, a reminder that the true price of war is always paid by the people who are caught in its wake.